Today we're going to be talking about a very important and common issue that's been happening here in TRNC. It's real estate fraud. Students have been experiencing this a lot lately. First of all, they sign contracts with agents about getting apartments or houses. Then they pay the agents the money, and after that they don't get the apartments or the houses that they have been promised. And they call the agents, they look for the agents have already disappeared or ran away. This has become a very, very common issue here in TRNC, and we are trying to avoid this by gathering some students that have experienced this lately. And today we have one of our students here. What's your name?
My name is I reside here.
Can you please tell us the experience that you've been through?
Okay, initially I met this guy. He's an estate agent. I spoke to him. He showed me several houses. I referred him to some close friends of mine who were in need of a house. We saw the house and the house had no furniture. And he said in a few days it will be fully finished, but they had to pay so that the landlord can finish the house and they can move in after 5 days. Upon payment, he said in 5 days' time they can move in, but that did not happen. The issue went on and on and on and on until it became a month, until it became 2 months, and he gave them temporary accommodation, which was not in his house as well. After a while, we realized that he had conned us and that the people that had paid the money did not even go to the landlord.
So when did this happen exactly?
We met this guy to get a house beginning of October. That was around about the 4th or the 5th of October. And we paid him around about that date in 2 installments, the 5th and the 7th of October. At the end of October, he would answer my calls, answer my messages, and respond and say, in 4 days, the house is still being fixed. In 5 days, the house is still being fixed. But when he realized that we found out that he had scammed us, he stopped taking my calls, because I was not the person who was supposed to move into the house. And when I kept on talking to him, he started threatening me. I told him that I'm going to go to the police. He said he doesn't care because the police are not going to do anything to him. So, of late, recently, when I try to call him, he doesn't answer. When I text him, he doesn't return my messages. He just views them and then he keeps quiet. When we realized that this guy is a fraudster, we researched about him, because the people that he put in the house that he had promised us told us that he's a fraudster. We researched about him. We realized that last year in January, he conned people of 8,700 sterling. He did it again in September. He conned students of an amount that is above 60,000 Turkish lira, and to include us, which is an amount that is above 10,000 Turkish lira. And at the police as well, we met other students who were complaining about the same person.
So how was it going to the police? Was it an easy process of making a case about this? Was it an easy process with the police, or was it a bit difficult?
I would say difficult is an understatement. It was a terrible experience. We had to go to the police 4 times up to now, and their response is not as swift, because my shock was this person has done this before, has been doing this, and as we come to report, some people have already reported, but it took them more than 3 weeks to arrest him. We were told that he has been arrested now, but we don't know how far that is true because we don't have the proof. It's just their word to say we have arrested him. But we tried all that we can to go to the police until we engaged a lawyer, Mr. Rabadan, and he called the police, tried to talk to them, and then it looked as if that's when they started making progress. But ever since we reported, they told us they would call us after 2 days. They didn't call. We went back after a week. They told us they are still looking for him. I don't know how hard it is to look for a person on this small island. It took us, I think, 4 trips going back to the police, back and forth, until they told us that he has been arrested today. And we are not even sure if they are going to do anything to him, because this is now the 3rd time and he's walking scot-free.
I'm and I stay in.
So you were one of the persons that were promised that apartment, right?
Yes, I'm one of the people who was promised the apartment. I was going to be staying with 2 of my friends in the apartment.
And how did the whole thing start? How did you know about this apartment or this agent, and how did it all start?
Okay, so this agent advertises houses online, on the internet, on Facebook. So I was really in need of a house, and I was helped up by a friend. He said he knew someone who had an apartment. So we went to see him, and he told me about the apartments he had. He had studios and he had a 2+1. So he went to show me both the apartments and told me I could choose the one I wanted. I didn't like the studio, so we went for the 2+1, and I was like, I really like this one. So at first he had said I needed to pay a year's rent. Then I told him I can't pay a year's rent. Then he says, okay, the landlord needs 6 months. So we kept on negotiating until he said, okay, you can pay 3 months rent, 2 deposits, and the commission. After that, he said I could come to his office to pay for the place. So with me, I had some of the money, not all of the money. So I went to his office. I paid 6,700. Then he gave me a contract to sign. I asked him what it was. He was like, it's like a receipt to show that you have signed, but the actual contract you sign when you're about to move in, like day before you move in. So I was like, fine. Then it's like the rest of the money you have to bring it in after 2 days. So after 2 days, I went with my friends actually. They gave the money, and it was paid, and another agreement, the same kind of agreement, was signed. And he said, okay, on the 11th I'll call you, then you go and you sign with the landlord, and he gives you keys, then you move into the apartment. But we waited. On the 11th, he didn't call us. So I asked him, you said you were going to call us and would meet the landlord and would sign the contract. Then it's like, oh, there have been some delays, I'm so sorry. There's an electric problem and the furniture company didn't deliver, so just give us 2-3 days, then you can move in, you can sign your contract and get your keys. After 2-3 days, he says, oh, the furniture company, they still haven't brought the furniture. I was with the landlord, he was actually shouting at them, blah, blah, blah. He kept on giving excuses. So in the end, he kept on pushing some time. Then that was around the 5th and the 7th when we paid, and they said we'd move in on the 12th. Then he kept on pushing until the 22nd, round about there. At that point in time, I had overstayed the place I was staying, and tomorrow, which was the 23rd, he gave us keys. We moved into the place. He said it's his place. You wait 2-3 days and then you move into the new place. So we got to November, and one morning someone comes and knocks on our door and says, I'm the actual tenant of this place. I would like to know how you got into this place. What were the conditions? And we are looking at each other. We're like, the agent said it's this place. So we explained to him our story. He explained to us his story. Then we realized that we were being frauded, and by the same agent. So now, after he left, we tried to contact the agent. He says, oh, don't worry about that. He's my cousin. It's just a joke. He's my cousin. So at the same time, we're still trying to understand what's going on and everything. Then some days later, he comes back and he says, okay, let's see what we can do about this situation. Like Aktunji comes and starts to help us out. We go to the place that we had been shown.
That's the tenant of the apartment that you're staying in.
Yes.
That the guy claimed was his apartment.
Yes. So he comes and he says, okay, let's try and find out what's happening. He told me a different story. He told me you guys would be paying for the stay, like 200 TL a day. So we have both been frauded. Let's find out if the house he promised you is actually there. Then after that, we told him, we have found out about what you've done. It's like, I'll give you your money next week. So we actually give him some time to give us our money, but he doesn't. He keeps pushing the date. So we ended up going to the police to open a case. and the police were like, give us 2-3 days, we'll arrest him, then we'll get back to you.
My name is Aytunç. I'm a Turkish Cypriot living in Nicosia, and I'm a musician actually.
So, some might actually think, how is a Turkish Cypriot related to this story? So, can you please just clear it out? What's your part in this story, in this situation?
First, I want to start by saying that this person that we've been talking about, his name is Ahmet Uğurlu Şanlıtürk. This is for the information of all the people that will be listening to this video, basically. His name is Ahmet Uğurlu Şanlıtürk, and he seems to be an official estate agent because he has a Facebook page through which he is actually promoting his houses, and he has an office in Old Town. The name of his office is Heaven's Island. So this is the name of his estate agency. It's called Heaven's Island. And previously he had a different name actually in the year 2016 and 2017. It was called Lapis Estate Agency. So if you would like to search a little bit on him on the internet, his name is Ahmet Uğurlu Şanlıtürk. And the estate agencies that he used to scam people is called Lapis Estate Agency. In other words, in Turkish, Lapis Emlak. This was in the year 2016 and 17. And because he got arrested twice, he changed the name of his estate agency. And now it is Heaven's Island. So people who will listen to this interview can pick up those details and search on Google to find out all the information about him, because it's public, it's on the news actually. The way I got in contact with him was that I was renting long-term houses. So I saw the promotion that he did on Facebook. I liked the houses, I contacted him. And through him, I contacted the landlords and I rented some houses. The way that I got involved with this situation was that after doing a long let, after renting the houses from the landlords, by informing the landlords, I rent it to tourists or students short let, so short term. And so I met him because I rented these houses. And the way I got involved with this situation, because he asked me to put his customers into my house, because he said the house that he promised the students will not be ready on the date, because as they have already said, because the electricity wasn't connected or the furniture wasn't brought to the house on the promised date. So he told me, I will put them in your house and daily I will give you this much amount of money. So I said, okay.
So after you were put into this situation, how did you discover that these students were being scammed? Or were you scammed as well by this agent?
I was truly scammed because the money promised to me, well, basically when he was putting them into my house, initially he said they will be there for 2-3 days. And it got to be 7 days, then 10 days, then 15 days. So when sort of this period was being extended, I started asking him, what is happening with the house that you promised the students? And he would say, it's going to be fixed, things are getting postponed, they're going to stay a bit more, and I'm going to pay you your money, don't worry. So I waited for a while without fully realizing that there was something wrong going on here. And then when I realized that he wasn't consistent, I started asking him directly to go and meet the students myself and to receive the payment and to sort of take more details from him. I would ask questions accordingly. And the more I would ask, the more he would try to sort of run away from answering directly. And that's when I understood that he was scamming, basically. And then I would go to the house myself directly, and I would talk to the students, telling them my side of the story, and I asked them under which conditions they were put into that house. And when we heard each other's stories, we understood that to them, it was the house of the estate agent. So for them, they were just put there because the other house wasn't ready and they didn't have to pay a penny because it was the house of the estate agent. For me, the story was that someone was put there and I was gonna get a daily rate, and I never got it actually. So when I went and spoke with the students, I immediately asked them, show me the agreements. When they did show me the agreements, I realized that they had two, what we call pre-agreements. So there was no actual contract. Pre-agreement means that you're paying usually a deposit and you get a pre-agreement until the owner actually comes and everyone meets and you sign an actual contract. In their case, they paid twice. In total, the amount was 10,800 TL, Turkish lira. And what that amount entails is 3 months rent, 2 deposits, and 1 commission that he took for himself. Originally, he wanted to take a full 1-year payment from them, but because their financial situation as students weren't good, they settled down for 3 months. So initially, the money that he wanted to steal from these students for one house was approximately 30,000 TL. Basically, I wanted to just see exactly what the situation is. So when we got together, I made them also contact him immediately after we had a talk in the house. When they contacted him saying that this guy appeared at our house and he's saying that he's the tenant of this house, as you heard before, the estate agent told them that I was his cousin and that I was joking. I mean, what a stupid lie. What kind of joke would be that? Yeah, exactly. So basically, I have spoken to the estate agent when I spoke with them and I said, Ahmet, your lies have come to the surface. We're going to take this to a serious space. If you don't fix the harm that you have caused, and he would keep postponing. And when I realized that he wouldn't have the intention to sort it out, I said to them, let's go to the house that you've been promised to see if the owner of that house actually knows anything about this. So we all together went to the apartment that they were promised, and no one lives there except just in one flat, one couple. And luckily we caught them on the balcony, so we started speaking with them and told them the story a little bit, and they were like, Ahmet Uğurlu Şentürk, this person also did something with us, but when we told him that we're gonna take him to the police, he immediately handed us this house. So they were also going through a similar situation, but they got away because they were perhaps Turkish people. So the estate agent didn't feel like he could fool them as well as he could have, fooled the African students, yeah. And so at that point I said, do you have the contact details of the owner of the apartment? So we contact the owner of the apartment and I explained him the situation, and he says, I have no idea about these students. I have no information whatsoever about the contract that they supposedly signed. And my relation with Ahmet Uğurlu Şentürk is not official. I only told him if you have customers, you can bring and show them the apartment, right? So when we realized that the owner of the house doesn't have any information in regards to this, then we check the pre-agreements. We see that the address on the pre-agreement is wrong too. So the fraud is not only money fraud, he's also putting wrong addresses on the contracts that he's preparing, right? So it's a multi-leveled scam basically. When we realized that the address is wrong as well and the owner doesn't know, we said this can only be sorted by going to the police. At that point, we contact him and we try to negotiate, telling him, if you do bring us the money, because at that point he owed me 8,000 Turkish lira and he owed them 10,800. So in total, it was close to 20,000 Turkish lira. You either come and fix this or we're going to the police at this moment. Anyways, we were going to the police even if he fixed it, because we didn't want him to continue doing it. After that, following that, we realized that he was still postponing, even though we scared him and threatened him that we were going to go to the police. And we said, this person is very cold-blooded. And we checked his name on the internet and we realized that in 2016, at the end of 2016, he committed the same crime with similar techniques, and he scammed 3 students separately and stole £8,700 from them. And he was arrested. And he was set free under certain conditions until the case was being looked at. Then we realized that after being set free in the beginning of 2017, 6-7 months later, he does the same thing and he cons 13 students this time, right? And he steals 60,000 Turkish lira at least from 13 students. And he gets arrested again, and under certain conditions, he is again set free. So we see that a person that has committed the same crimes, similar crimes, right, twice, and even though he's arrested twice, he's being set free, and only 9-10 months later, he's doing the same to us. This time, it's not only us. We have found out that before we went to the police with the issue, there were 2 other groups of students that went to the police in regards to this person and in regards to being conned in similar ways. So I am thinking that in the month of October and November, he conned at least another 10 students in total. And when we went to the police with the issue, it was in the beginning of December, we thought they would immediately catch him. Why? Because he has committed the same crime twice before. He got arrested twice before, so he should be on the blacklist, right? You don't allow the person to go set them free because they will go and do it again, and that's what he did. So we thought they would catch him again, but we found out it was a week later. We called the police station. They're saying, we're looking for him. We call his phone, it's on. We checked his Facebook, he's promoting new houses. And so we're saying, how is this possible? This person might be conning some other people while you're supposedly looking for him. A week later, we call again. We try to follow up. We try to keep ourselves updated. 3 weeks, they don't catch him. And I don't know if within 3 weeks he scammed other students or not, but we were really upset the fact that things moved so slowly for these students, because not only their money was taken, they were homeless. I keep them still in my house because I didn't want them to be without a house. I wanted them to have a shelter above their head. I wanted them to be warm and safe, so I keep them in my house, but at the cost of losing money. I am paying for their house right now. 1. 2, the person is free. The estate agent can continue to con people, and these people are not being assisted by any governmental department. They're not assisted by educational departments that invite them over to Cyprus all the way from Africa. And police is moving so slow to sort the issue. So we are really concerned if we were going to be able to sort this ourselves. And so we took the issue to the media. And so far, 3 newspapers have spoken about it. And we found out that today he was arrested. We haven't seen the proof of him being arrested, but we were told by the police that he got arrested today after 3 weeks.
So assuming that the currency rate, the difference between your currency back home and the currency here, that there's a very, very large difference here. So you guys paid around 10,000 TL, and that was how much in your currency?
Looking at the current exchange rate, 10,800 TL is something like 30,000 rands. Looking at the standard salary for a normal person here back home, in South Africa, it's 5,000 or 6,000 rands every month. So it's actually a lot of money. 30,000 rands is a lot of money of where I come from. It's a huge amount of money for me to just give someone and then you can just steal it. Yeah. And have it disappear in a blink of an eye. It's quite a lot of money.
So do your parents know about the whole situation that happened since they finance you?
Yeah, I had to call them. I told them the other day when I was by the police station that this and this is what's going on. And when I first told them, I thought I was lying to them. I've eaten the money or I've spent the money. But when we by the police, then we explained the situation to them. Then they thought it's better for me to come back home than to stay on the streets, because no parent want their child to be out there or to be destitute in a foreign land. Imagine. As time goes on, then they saw how serious the issue is, because I told them that the police are involved and stuff. Then they thought it's better for me to come back home than them paying another amount of money again, because the money which we paid in my South African currency is equivalent to, we paid 10,800. It's equivalent to 30,000 rands. So they thought it's better for them to buy me a ticket and come back home, because no parent want their child to suffer in a foreign land. Yeah.
So, do you actually feel safe after reaching out to the authorities about the whole situation and what happened?
I don't feel safe, to be honest. Right now, I'm even afraid that the guy, since he's claiming that where I'm staying right now is his apartment, he might just come and then kick me out. At the end of the day, I'll be homeless. And since we reported the case to the authorities, they haven't done anything yet in there. He keeps on threatening us like every day. I remember he once told me that even if I report the case to the police, then he won't even pay me my money back. And it got me wondering. I'm even afraid, since there are threats like every day.
From what I see in this country, the students, especially coming from abroad, foreign students, not knowing how the system works here, and not knowing the language that is spoken here as the mother tongue, not having direct relations with the circles of Cyprus and with the departments, and not having this map through which they can guide themselves and realize, I need to do this, after that I need to do this. They don't know these things. So first, they're in a weak position automatically, right, when they come to this country, because they don't know how things work. And I feel, and I see and observe, that they're being taken advantage of by all of the authorities. I could say that, honestly. Education system, the government systems, they're not taking care of them. That's why you're here today, because you're the VOIS organization, and you actually created this organization so that you support the rights of these foreign students. So I would suggest them to come together first. Secondly, in regards to the housing issues, I would always suggest them to make sure that every step that they're taking, they double confirm that it is what it looks like. They shouldn't just sign any agreement before double checking. If there are big amounts of money being asked of them without them really having what they're promised to have, they shouldn't just hand that money, because the next day the person might just disappear and they're homeless. And if they have the opportunity to have legal support next to them, have that. If you have connections with organizations like you, they can contact you and seek to get their rights, right? And they can, when for instance these people signed 2 pre-agreements, check your information. You know, if I'm supposed to rent a house, how does this process go? How does it unfold? Should I first go and pay deposit? Usually the deposit is how much? And if I pay the deposit, what kind of confirmation paper do I get? What is the next step? The next step is getting a real contract. When I'm signing a real contract, the owner of house should be there. Yeah, they have to check those things and make sure that when they're renting these houses, they get everything right. Because it's so easy to trust and hand your money, and the next day no one will be assisting you, especially if you are a foreign student and you don't have connections and you don't know the way things work here. I, as a Turkish Cypriot, feel vulnerable in this country because the system is corrupt. I don't understand how foreign students, should find their ways, That's what I would say. So come together, seek your rights, and know what you're doing. Check your information. Always double confirm, and never just hand big amounts of money without being totally sure that you are, given what you're promised to have.
Do you have any other comments or extra points you'd like to give?
I think I said so many things. I'm just so passionate because I feel so bad for the foreign students because they're invited here, being promised so many things. You know, they're invited here thinking that this is a great European country, that they'll get scholarships and that they can work here. And it's an island and it's so beautiful and everything will be smoothly moving forward. The moment they do come here, they realize that it's not like that at all. And that's very sad because they are in a very vulnerable situation. And considering they come from Africa, most of these students, their financial situation aren't that well compared to how the European financial system is. So they're really going through such financial hard times when they come here. They can't even buy tickets to return back. They're stuck here. They don't know what they're gonna do. They just move on a daily basis saying that, let me just move through this day and let's see what happens. Let me just finish this year and maybe things will get better. So I ask the education department and all the other departments in regards to how these students are being brought to the country and how this educational system works. Take care of the students, then come here to Cyprus as you're inviting them here. Protect their rights, hear their voices, right? Support them, guide them, teach them how things work, assist them, you know, don't just sort of take advantage of them because they're in a weak position. I think no one would like to send their children abroad and see them in this position, right? So I want all the governmental departments to consider how they're going to deal with foreign students, how they're going to protect their rights, how they're going to hear their voices. And organizations like you, you're a big step towards this direction. So I would say interview as many people as possible, share it on social media, share it on newspapers, get your voice heard. I will do the same for you and for myself, of course. And gradually you should, you know, have your rights. This is what I think we can do at least to start with.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's all right. Thank you so much.